Sister Rose. Sister Rose. It is this is little
We had this morning suspended talk with the idea that we become contemplatives when God discovers Himself in us. It may sound a slightly jarring for the words. It becomes simpler when we know that discovery always implies a prior existence. To discover something that has already been existing, suddenly you come to know such a thing is there. God discovers Himself in us. That is not to be equated with that. He is not somebody who did not exist before. He is existence itself. By saying that He discovers Himself in us, we mean to say we have become so much transparent to God that He sees us Himself through the mirror that we become. Otherwise, we are so engrossed with other elements that He cannot recognize Himself in us. Image of God is within us, but we are so much coated with other elements that are not of God, because of which He cannot recognize His own image in us. That's a great tragedy. We have to become doors and windows through which God shines back into His own house. We have to become doors and windows through which God shines back into His own house. So you and I, we are His house, His temple. He wants to see Himself in us, not anything else. When the love of God is in me, when the love of God is in me, God is able to love you through me, and you are able to love God through me. When the love of God is in me,
Which page?
that is on page 6. What about? When the love of God is in me, God is able to love you through me. How do we know love? Love of God. It is through people's love. Somebody's love. It's not that somebody's love really. In truth, it is love of God coming through that person. That person becomes a channel of God's love. So from the time we were born, we were brought up in love through parents and then others. All through, we have been loved. Somewhere or other, we experience being loved. That's all God's love coming out through various channels.
That sentence once more. God is able to love you through
Through me.
God is able to love.
God is able to love you through me if I keep the channel of God's love open. Otherwise, He cannot love you through me, through somebody else maybe. Person. But He is not determined that He has to love you through me only. He can love to anybody. But this expression of love will be missing if I block. That's me. How do we know God? God is so unknowable really. Because knowing implies concepts, ideas, notions, but God is beyond all that. Then how can we know God? That problem God solved and remedied it through the incarnation of His Son. St. Paul says, Christ is the image of the invisible God. He is the image of the invisible God. St. John in John 1:14 says, the word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the only Son coming from the Father. Word became flesh. Flesh means he became what we all are. See, Jesus Christ is not the Son of God who became man in another man, an existing man. One was existing already, then God became manifest in that human being. That is not incarnation. Incarnation is God took on another nature, human nature. So it's original Son of God in Jesus Christ. Original. He is not a pre-existent human being in whom God came to dwell. So this is the great mystery of the incarnation. Why did God take such a trouble? An enormous change. God taking our human nature. What is human nature? But he took up that human nature. So he did not just shed his own being. He is God. He cannot eliminate himself, destroy himself. Those in St. Paul's Ephesians says, he emptied himself and became human. And as human, the worst, the greatest, the slave of everyone to the incarnation. And became as all men are. One person, two natures. Christ is God as well as man. But only one person, not two persons, only one person. This was the heresy. Some said he was divine person, human person. As long as he was on earth, only human person was there. When he died, that person disappeared. Only divine person is there. It's a huge heresy. The Catholic Church never accepted that. But did Jesus did he declare himself as God? He never told people, I am God. Just like that. How could he say that in front of the people who always worship the one true God? How could somebody claim himself to be God? Because God must be, cannot be here. God is so transcendent. How can this man who is right here in front of our eyes, how can he claim himself to be God? It's very correct. So he never said, I am God. I am Son of God, he said, Son of Man. But there are rare occasions in which it is implied, like in today's gospel, who can forgive sins but God alone? But prove to you the Son of Man on earth has the power to forgive sins, I say to you. Yeah. What does that imply? Is God? Without saying, he is saying, you are saying it. That is God. Who can raise a dead person to life? With one's own power. But Jesus did. Anita, to me, get up. I say to young man, get up. Just like that. In front of the tomb of Lazarus, he prayed, Father, I know you have heard my prayer. I know. Because you and I are one. But these people may believe that you have sent me, I am doing this. I say, Lazarus, get up. Come out. So it is not like a Saint Irony or somebody raising somebody from death. Like it's different. They prayed and asked God, please do something. And then the miracle happened. And you will say it is not my power, it is God's power. But Jesus did on his own because he was attuned to his Father. The Father was operating through him. Father and Son are one. Now we have to have a clear understanding of what exactly incarnation is. There is the historical incarnation and there is the mystical incarnation. Historical incarnation took place in Bethlehem when Jesus appeared in human form as a baby in the cave of Bethlehem, and the historical incarnation. There was no fanfare about it. You don't see any angels there helping out in the cave. Do you see? You don't see. No angels helping out. Angels came to the shepherds somewhere else. They sang glory to God in the highest. They did not come to the cave and sing there. No helping out there. Absolutely. Humanity in its bareness. Poverty, poverty. No touching, no interference. God kept himself away so that humankind may know that the Son of God has experienced human poverty. He has accepted poverty into himself. Same with suffering. One friend of mine in Tirunelveli told me, "Oh, Father, it is not possible for Christ to suffer. He was suffering, that was only pretending. He was only showing that he was suffering. Why? Because he is God, no? If you say he is God, how can he suffer? God cannot suffer. But he was also man. How can God be man? That's it. Ordinary people will not understand. How can God also be man? Human. God is God, man. Human being is human being. It's a different species altogether. Like we becoming an animal now. There's another species, another rank in existence, much below us. And God and human beings, we are also of a different category, different level. But he became human all the same, out of his love for humankind. Love alone can explain that. Now, this incarnation is not once in a lifetime event. Once it happened, it cannot happen again. Physically, it cannot happen. Does it mean that Christ was absent before the Christmas event took place? Was he absent in the life of human beings? If, if Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am. So what does that mean? It means he was there in existence before Christmas also, first Christmas. In another form, mystical form. He was there. But humankind saw God in human form only at the first Christmas. And then onwards, as long as he was alive there with people. Then his death and resurrection took place. With that, he became universal. He entered into the ground of the human person. Ground of the human person. So the base stuff in us is Christ. Tremendous event it was. The tremendous thing that God has done towards mankind. And the right at the bottom of us is Christ is God. But how do we discover this God? There is some process involved. Process of elimination. We need to eliminate ourselves. God and I cannot exist together, as they say. It is a physical thing. God and I cannot be together. When he is inside, we are out. When I am inside, he is out. We cannot exist together. It's a mystical way. You understand that here. When I am running the show, he has no place. He will sit waiting for the time when he is called in. Till then, he is patiently waiting. When he is called in, then I have to out. I will stay on the side. I don't disappear. I don't just become nothing. I will remain who I am. But he is going to run the show. This happens when we mystically allow Christ to be born in us, become our nature. He also becomes part of our nature. Christ and I, we establish a kind of comradeship. It's a companionship. I don't walk alone. I walk with him. We are not equal, absolutely not. Is God become man? So how does that happen? The man that I am becomes him when we sublimate ourselves. That's how the mystical marriage takes place. The historical incarnation in the past and the mystical incarnation as here and now are two aspects of the same mystery of the union between God and man. The power of event in Bethlehem is truly fulfilled and understood only when it becomes a present reality enacted within ourselves, uniting us with God now. Master Eckhart said, what good is it to me if the Son of God was born to Mary years ago, but is not born in my person, in my culture, in my time? The incarnation has to be a pervasive event. After the first historical incarnation, whole humankind's history has changed. We are no more the same. Humanity is very different. Earlier, God, people had to imagine God, think about God, worship God with animals and all that. Today, God and man are united. Heaven and earth have become one. There is there's a poet, no? What, Brownie. What Brownie is it? Robert. What Brownie is that?
Robert.
Not Robert Browning. Elizabeth Browning.
Oh, sorry.
Elizabeth Browning said, Earth is crammed with heaven, and every bush are fire with God. Those who see take off their shoes. Others just pluck the berries. Just pluck the berries. Those who see take off the shoes, like Moses did when he approached the burning bush. Every bush are fire with God. Those who see take off their shoes. They realize we are in the presence of God. Those who don't just pluck berries, they will see only the bush. They don't see anything beyond that. This is what incarnation, different that incarnation makes. When we see God is present in the material reality, material reality is not just material reality, there is the presence of God in it. That is proved by the incarnation. God becoming having a human form. It's not just form, he accepted human nature. Because of which everything having form has got the presence of God in it. We can recognize that. Earlier they were just worshipping trees, worshipping stones, worshipping the sun, the moon, the stars. Today we don't worship anything of this sort. But at the same time, we hold them in reverence saying, because God is present there. It is a creation of God. He is present actually there. A tree is growing, producing its fruit because God's power is in it. Directly there. Animals and birds, they are living, multiplying, growing. Birds make their nests. How is it possible? Where is the intelligence in it all? That is God's intelligence. It is God's intelligence. We are not able to do things that birds do. We are not able to fly. We can make aeroplanes and sit inside. Why? Because that power is there in nature. If we discover that power, it was always eccentric, but we have to discover that power. Once we discover that power, we can use it. Electricity was discovered. It was there always. Somebody discovered, then they use it. how electricity functions. We switch on something, what is the function? Light burns or fan works, mixie works, iron box gets hot, hot for instruments. Everything functions with the current, just current. Put on the current, computer works. Computer, put on the current, the mic works. Diverse functions, but the same energy. It's mysterious. Can an ordinary man or woman understand how it works? I can speak here, people in America can hear what I am saying. The use of the telephone, for example. How is it possible? Isn't it mysterious? It is mysterious. We are our minds are unscientific, so we don't understand the technicalities. But somebody who is scientifically informed can give some explanation. Still, he or she will be wondering why it should work. Why it should work like that. It's amazing technology. And human brain has advanced so far. What all things we have discovered, humanity has discovered. Discovered, not invented, discovered. We're all there. Our grandfathers, great grandfathers did not know all these things. Today we are having such facilities. See, the truth that God has become man also means that man has become God. Right? These are mystical statements, do not be taken literally. Understand in its mystical dimension. The eye with which I see God is the same with which God sees me. The eye with which I see God, the same with which God sees me. What do I see? I see you. I see trees with these eyes. The eye with which I see God, if I see God there in all of you, in everything around, then God, the same eye God sees me. Who is he seeing? He sees himself. He sees himself. I will transform into him. Because God can be seen only by God, not by human beings. We cannot see God. Unless we are transformed into God, we cannot see God. Only God can see God in the same way only God can know God. We remaining as humans cannot know God unless we are transformed into God. By divesting himself of our gross human nature. What do we do with meditation? We become aware of ourselves. We become aware of what is happening within ourselves. And we become aware that we are aware. At that point, we are in deep silence. In that deep silence, we are touching our being. We are touching our being. We are sensing our being. When we sense our being, we are sensing the being of God also. Because God is so much intimately linked with our being. If we can touch our being, we touch the being of God. It's not like I'm touching this table, I have touched this table. Now, this kind of touching is very, very mystical touching. Very subtle it is. Nothing gross about it. I touch God. It's not like God is not an object to be touched. He's not an object. He is a subject always. But when we talk of God as an object. Because language is limited. I cannot speak in any other way except considering him as an object. But actually, he's not an object. If he is being itself, then how can he be object? My being is his being. Doesn't mean he has got all the limitations that I have. Our limitations are associated with my limited existence, with my body and mind. His body and mind will disappear with death. They go. They go. You know what is happening? The body is constantly changing and finally it dies. What happens to the mind? Mind also is constantly undergoing transformation. Emotions, feelings, all the thoughts that are inside stored up for there. They are going. They will not disappear. They will not disappear. What remains is the spirit within that is united with God. To live in Christ is to live in a mystery equal to that of the incarnation. As Christ unites in his one person the two natures of God and of man, so too in making us his friends, he dwells in us, uniting us individually to himself. See, the union between God and man in Christ is called hypostatic union. Hypostatic union. But our union with Christ is not hypostatic union. It's of a different nature. God, God's being is an ontological type of union. Ontological type of union. God and man in Christ is ontological. At the level of being, ours is different. We are united with Christ, but we continue to retain our being, our separate existence. It is sort of covered with the existence of Christ. When Paul said, "It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me," he was making a very mystic statement, but it was the truth. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. I live this mortal life by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. This is a statement which every one of us will be able to repeat with meaning. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. But we cannot go around telling everybody this one. Don't tell people like that. It's no longer I who live. Who are you then? For all practical purposes, I remain who I am. But in the depth of my being, and it's not I, but Christ who lives in me. Other people who experience me will realize, there is some truth in that. This person is no more himself or herself. Christ is really living in that person. As in some many saints, they will recognize that.